Hey, welcome back once again to English 401. Hello, I'm Jess Flaherty, and we're going to be talking today about the basic steps of argumentative writing, uh, what you need to do to start your paper, and then also different kinds of claims that you can make. Okay, so hopefully at this point in your research, you've got your initial research question, and you're starting to hone in on that final research question. Remember, you're writing a specific argument that you can encapsulate in 7 to 8 pages. So you don't want to have something be too broad, but you also don't want it to be too narrow. So hopefully you're honing in on that. And when you actually go in to start your argumentative writing, there are 4 basic steps that you need to follow. Okay, the very first step that you need to do is just to present the issue. Now, this is like your last paper on rhetorical analysis and when you're giving background information. However, this might go on for as much as 1 or 2 pages because you really do need to present the entire issue. Not only do you want to give a history of it, you want to say what the kairos is, why is this important for today. You also want to go through some of the changes that have happened in your topic. If you're writing on something that has a lot of background, such as I saw somebody was thinking about writing about the death penalty, or someone else was thinking about writing about the income gap between men and women. And those issues have been around for a long time, you know, as much as 50 or 100 or even thousands of years in the case of the death penalty. So you need to present the whole issue. If you're doing a more contemporary topic, you'd be surprised what's out there already. If you're going to write about something like violence in video games, that study has been done like back into the 80s and 90s. So you need to really try to present the entire issue, and this might take 1 to 2 pages. After you've presented the issue, you're going to want to make your claim. And then there are 4 different kinds of claims we're going to talk about down here. But this is more than just like a single sentence, all right? You're going to have probably at least a paragraph in which you sort of go over what your research has covered and you summarize your main points, and then you boldly make your claim at the end of that paragraph. This is what's going on, and this is how it needs to change, or this is what we need to do about it, or this is why it's bad. Okay, we'll talk about the different kinds of claims you will make at the end of that statement. But after presenting the issue, you're going to make your claim. And this is sort of like your condensed version of your entire argument. All right. After you've made your claim, this is where your detective skills have paid off because you're going to build your case. You're going to sort of pretend like you're in a courtroom, right, and you're on a trial, and you're the lawyer who is trying to convict. You're trying to get your reader, who is sort of like a jury member, to follow your evidence and then agree with you by the end and be on your side, okay? And that's where you're going to want, I'll talk about here, sort of what tone you're going to want to have, and also what you're going to want to do with your emotions, because you don't sometimes want to lead with something that's too strong because you're going to isolate a lot of your readers. You should feel like you're on a fishing boat and you're casting this very wide net, and it's going to draw in as many fish as possible. So you have to take your argument and start really broad, and you're slowly sharpening it down to like little tiny individual points. After your case has been built, you need to come to a conclusion. And this is where you're sort of explaining your final reasoning for your claim, and also you're going to have a couple different kinds of conclusions that you can make. I'll talk about that in the next lecture. So this is really the bulk of your paper. Your conclusion is really only about a paragraph. It's this building of the case that is, about 5 pages of your paper. And for steps on how to do that, I would say just look at the essays and transitions, right? There are a few different styles in which you can do it. You can present like issue number 1, issue number 2, and issue number 3, and then like counter arguments to your arguments, or you can do counter arguments woven within. Sort of look back to your rhetorical analysis essay, see how you organize that, and you're going to do a similar style, or even look back to that argumentative essay that you analyzed. How did they organize their argument? Okay, that is where you're going to have a lot of flexibility in this paper. Two important things you need to do as you're thinking about this. First is to check your emotions. This is not a time when you're going to want, at least in the initial part, you're not going to want to jump in immediately with a ton of pathos. Depending on what your issue is, sometimes you can start with an anecdote, maybe that one that's particularly shocking to grab your reader's interest. But overall, you're going to want to be writing this with a lot of logos. Okay, in order to draw in as many readers as possible, you're going to probably be using mostly logos. That's why some of those resources I'm having you find are going to be research or statistics based, right, or field based, because you need logos, logos, logos for this paper. You're also going to want to use a level-headed tone. You don't want to appear too reactionary in this paper, or it's going to come off as isolating to a lot of your readers. So make sure you're doing both of these throughout the paper. Now, let's talk about different kinds of claims that you can make. After you've got your final research question, this is the very first thing you should write. You might want to start writing your background info for our workshop on Thursday, just so you can kind of see where it's important. But I really also recommend having your claim ready to go, maybe even before you write your background info. Like, what is your argument? What are you saying here? There are 4 different kinds of claims you can make. The very first claim is called a policy-based claim, all right? So a policy-based claim is a proposal that recommends a course of action. So in the case of my paper on nuclear waste disposal, I could have said, okay, this is what the United States needs to do in order to fix things, in order for things to be better. There needs to be a new policy that we need to adopt. Okay? That's just one kind of claim that you can make. You can also make a value-based claim. This one's a little different. This is a moral argument including social and cultural opinions. If you have something that's like someone who's writing potentially on pit bulls, right? Oh, pit bulls are very controversial. You can't really, I mean, you could recommend a policy for an argument like that, but whether or not people should be allowed to have pit bulls in apartment complexes is more of a value-based claim, okay? You're going to have this moral argument where you're presenting different people's opinions from different parts of society and from different cultures, and you're going to have a conclusion that says either people should be allowed to do this or they should not, right? That's a little bit of a different claim than a policy. Another kind of claim you can have is an outcome-based claim. Okay, outcome-based claims. This is an examination of a course adoption. What does that mean? That sort of is like saying, what if? What if we did this? For those of you who got papers that are like, we should lower the drinking age, or we should legalize marijuana federally, okay? That is an outcome-based claim. So what if we did make the legal drinking age 18 years old in the United States? What would that do? Well, you would look at your research, and you can see and compare to other countries around the world. You can compare back to when the legal drinking age was under 21, right? A lot of states up until the late 70s, I think it was like 19. So you can have that what if claim, what if we did this? And this is why it would be better than what we currently have, okay? A little bit different than the other two. And finally, you have a situation or a condition-based claim. So this one is where you use your research to show a trend. For example, global warming, right, is very much like a condition-based claim. Hey, look, we've got all these different sectors of the environment. are changing in all these different ways. And so you've got, so I'll sleep there, this condition or this situation that's changing, and I'm going to use my research to show that. Lobsters in New England, right? There used to be a ton of lobsters in Massachusetts, and now there's all these lobsters in Maine, and it's you've got on one hand you have Maine saying, oh yeah, well we've done all this like great sustainable fishing of the lobsters, and on the other hand you've got the temperature of the ocean changing, right? And the Massachusetts waters are becoming more warmer. So are those lobsters moving north because of the situation, or is it a global situation? And you would have a claim that is going to show that trend with research if you were going to do a paper like that. So think about these 4 steps in your writing. Think about what kind of claim that you want to make. You should decide on one of these because it's going to shape your whole paper. Right, I'm going to have another quick lecture on how to build your case, this big one right here, and then different kinds of conclusions that you can make. All right, going up next.